Peru News Today, all you need to know about Peru.
She confessed her intimate life in The Value of Truth and was murdered by her boyfriend, the feminicide of Ruth Thalía Sayas. Brian Romero drugged and choked the young woman after she revealed on the Peruvian reality television show that she worked in a nightclub as a dancer and she had collected money in exchange for sexual favors. In July 2012, a young woman full of hopes, ambitions, and desire to get ahead appeared on the renowned program The Value of Truth in Peru, where she would be the undisputed protagonist. Ruth Thalía Sayas, at only 19 years old, shared a truth that, over time, would become her cruel executioner. After a few months, her boyfriend Brian Romero confessed to having murdered her due to the revelations she made that day. The controversial but popular Saturday night show featured contestants answering intimate questions, that is, very personal passages from her life, and displaying them on national television. A format to entertain the public on Saturday nights was the setting for this story that ended up burying it 6 meters underground. The questions had previously been asked off camera with a polygraph in exchange for large sums of money. The young woman was the first participant in the Red Chair reality show hosted by presenter Beto Ortiz. The cash prize for answering 21 questions was 50,000 soles, $13,000, and soon all of Peru found out about her life, something that could be said to be closer to morbid. Sayas decided to retire after winning 15,000 soles, $4,100. The Value of Truth became a trend and occupied the pages of the newspapers in the following days due to the revelations of this unknown young woman. "Did you do it to tell the truth or for the money?" was the first thing that presenter Beto Ortiz asked her when she entered the famous television set, and she, with an innocent, fearful, but determined smile, answered that she did it because that night he wanted to tell his truth, a revelation that would change the course of his life completely. Everything was going well, but from one moment to the next the questions became more and more striking and cruel. They asked her if her parents would be ashamed of her job, if she was an employee in a nightclub, and if she had ever been paid for sex. Her answers caused a stir. She actually worked in a nightclub as a dancer and not as a call center operator as her parents thought. She had collected money in exchange for sexual favors and she felt ashamed of her family's behavior. Another question was if she was with Brian, a humble motorcycle taxi driver, alone until someone better appeared, to which the young woman answered that she was. The groom remained silent, only puzzled by the answer. Then he added that he didn't want to hear any more. The Value of Truth ended with its first protagonist revealing many intimate things about her life. The program was a ratings success, despite the sadness of Ruth Thalía's parents and the strange behavior of the young woman's partner. After her controversial appearance on the Frecuencia Latina, now Latina, program, it seemed that Sayas was returning to her life normally. She returned to work, study, and live with her parents in the Huachipa district. After The Value of Truth, apparently everything was fine. Ruth Thalía continued with her life and returned to reality, working, studying, and living with her parents in the Huachipa district. But in Brian's mind a plot was brewing. Ruthless revenge, since she never forgave him for having been made a fool at the national level. A ruthless thirst for revenge was incubated in Brian's mind, unable to forgive her for having made a fool of him at the national level. The television show, with its intrusive question and answer dynamic, had left its mark on their relationship. Although the 19-year-old was looking to move on, her boyfriend couldn't forget the public humiliation she had suffered. He nursed a burning resentment, meticulously planning how to hit back at whoever was her mate. A month had passed since her controversial appearance on the reality show. It was never known exactly if they were dating during the broadcast of the program. After Ruth Thalía's revelations, the young woman disappeared. Nobody knew her whereabouts. Her mother, Vilma Sanchez, blamed Brian as the suspect for this disappearance. "She surprised me everything and made me look ridiculous, like a fool," the young man had indicated. He also assured that, after The Value of Truth, he had not seen her or had any communication with her. But it was a lie because, according to witnesses, Ruth Thalía spoke with him on her cell phone. A tireless search began for the 19-year-old girl. Her parents, desperate, went to all the television channels, although no longer as guests, but as two worried and desperate parents. Calls, police reports, night vigils were some of the actions that Ruth Thalía's family took to find her. However, there was no trace. But what had happened? Brian Romero extended an invitation to Ruth Thalía Sayas to attend a party at her house. Despite the doubts around her, Ruth Thalía decided to give her a chance and she accepted her offer. That same night, in the middle of an argument over the truths of the red chair and the value of truth, Brian drugged her. She was raped, suffocated, and brutally beaten to death. The woman's lifeless body was hidden with the help of the murderer's uncle, Reddy Leyva, who played a sinister role in this horrendous crime. Together, they buried her body in a vacant lot in Jicamarca, on the outskirts of Lima. For 10 anguishing days, the relatives of the participant of the value of truth desperately searched for her, hoping to find her safe and sound. Her mother, Vilma Sanchez, exhausted and full of pain, went to Brian's house hoping to get answers. She pleaded on her knees, desperate to know the whereabouts of her daughter. But she only got a cold and remorseless response. Brian Romero claimed to be unaware of the whereabouts of her ex-partner. September 24th marked a tragic and devastating breaking point. On that fateful day, a sudden phone call filled Ruth Thalía's father and sister with terror and despair. The young woman's lifeless body was discovered in a macabre setting, a deep and gloomy hole approximately 6 meters deep, located in a house located in the peasant community of Viña de Media Luna, in Jicamarca. The scene was heartbreaking and sadness mixed with anger and shock. The participant of the value of truth had been brutally taken away and her life had come to a tragic end. The police followed in the footsteps of Brian Romero. The Ruth Thalía Sayas family had identified him as the main suspect. The police captured Brian. Hatred, resentment, and his desire to get some of that money his girlfriend had earned led him to become a murderer. The questions, increasingly more intense, made him no longer able to bear his conscience, releasing that monster that he carried inside and that made him commit the worst of acts, killing a person. During interrogation, he had no choice but to openly admit his responsibility in the woman's murder, revealing heartbreaking details about the crime. In his own words, he claimed that he acted alone and used his bare hands to strangle his ex-partner. According to Romero, on the fateful September 11, 2012, he contacted Ruth Thalía to meet. They shared a bottle of wine in her bedroom and had sex. However, the harmony was quickly overshadowed by a heated argument. Amid the growing tension, the victim slapped him, triggering a violent reaction from Brian. In a fit of uncontrollable anger, he grabbed her by the neck, unaware of the lethal force she was exerting on her. But when he realized the situation, it was already too late. Ruth Thalía Sayas was no longer breathing. After committing the crime, Brian Romero hid his body in his own bathroom and continued his life as if nothing had happened, turning to alcohol to appease his disturbed conscience. The next day, without any help, he transported the body in his motorcycle taxi to an abandoned silo, where he finally abandoned it. The P&P received another piece of information. Brian's uncle, Reddy, had also participated in the murder. He was arrested, although he always denied that he was involved. He defended himself by indicating that day he was drunk celebrating his mother's birthday. Brian himself acknowledged that his relative was not there on the day of the crime, but the detectives in the case concluded that it was a plot between the two, since the space where the body was buried belonged to him. The killer confessed his plan to escape to Ecuador and revealed that he had sold his vehicle, sound equipment, and other electronic devices to finance his escape. However, thanks to the hard work of Durnkri agents, his plan was thwarted before he could put it into action. In his testimony before the agents of the Missing Persons Investigation Division, Romero forcefully admitted to having choked the victim and inflicted fatal blows as a result of his refusal to give him the S/1,500 that he had previously promised him for accompanying him to the television program. However, he later emphasized feeling humiliated and deceived in front of the entire country when the young woman revealed that she had had relationships with other people. The autopsy showed that Ruth Thalía's death was due to mechanical asphyxiation due to strangulation, and she had injuries all over her body from blows. Her entire face was disfigured. In addition, she had a fracture in her collarbone and spine. There is no doubt in her mind that they had attacked her until they took her life, until she took her last breath. It was also known that the young woman's liver was completely inflamed due to the toxic substances that she had ingested moments before her death. Blood was found in the room of the murderer and his ex-partner. There were traces of blood on his motorcycle taxi with which he offered services in Huachipa. Brian changed the version several times. In a first confession, he said that a person, nicknamed El Gordo, had helped him kill his girlfriend, that it was this person who had taken the young woman's life, and that he had only been a witness in charge of carrying the body to this desolate place. Later, he assured that everything he had said was a lie and that this character never existed. He even mentioned that he was the only one responsible for the death of his ex-partner. However, the police did not believe any of these versions because they were all inaccurate. The murderer Brian Romero and his accomplice Reddy Romero were sentenced to life in prison. But in 2021 the sentence was changed, 33 and 30 years in prison, respectively. The news was a whirlwind for Ruth Thalía Sayas' parents. This decision destroys us, it kills us in life. What can we expect from justice, from these judges and prosecutors? Now we are going to organize to carry out a march in front of Congress to enact more severe laws. It is outrageous. Every day they kill, they commit femicides, but justice says nothing. The law is made for murderers. Corruption is terrible. We will make our voice of protest known. It is not feasible, said Lencio Sayas, the victim's father. Over the past 7 years, the confessed killer and co-conspirator have filed multiple appeals in an attempt to evade responsibility for their actions. However, all of their requests were rejected and the sentence handed down in 2015 by the Superior Court of Justice was ratified. However, the reduction of their sentences was accepted. Ruth Thalía's parents continued to seek justice so that the Romeros receive a life sentence. Neither of them has paid the 700,000 soles, $191,833 in civil reparation that the Peruvian justice system imposed on them. Leave us your comment and subscribe to continue growing, and follow us on our social networks, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
Peru News Today. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram.